Welcome in. Today is simple. We're going to the NFC side of things. We're going to be looking at every team's offseason and projecting. Are they going to go over or under their Vegas win projected line this season? As always, if you enjoy, support us down below and tell a friend to tell a friend about the show as we're approaching a new milestone. But hey, that's enough talking. Let's get into it. Now, as always, we're going to start in the North. We're going to finish in the West. So if you're looking for your favorite team or a group of teams, skip around accordingly. But we're going to kick it off here with the Detroit Lions, the number one seed last year, and they're coming off of their best year in franchise history. What they have, 13 or 14 wins. Now, it didn't end the way they wanted, but now they're hungry, they're healthy, and this is a team that's looking to prove they're more than just some coordinators. Sure, they lost Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, two now head coaches in the NFL, but this Dan Campbell core is still intact, and his culture is stronger than ever, I believe, now that they've lost these guys, and, well, they're out to prove something. Look, I like their draft. They got guys like Tyreek Williams and Tate Ratledge, two hard-nosed workers, and they're going to make an impact from day one. This is a Lions team that I don't have any doubt about. They're still going to win anywhere from 11 to 12 games and be in the mix for the number one seed. This is a team that's still going over. Now, it's well documented. I don't know if there's anybody on YouTube that has had a longer track history of supporting Jordan Love. Back when he was at Utah State, I was on the bandwagon, and I wanted my Cleveland Browns to draft him, in all honesty. But he went to Green Bay, of course, and it's a better situation for him. If he was with my Browns, he might not be here. But the Green Bay Packers, their line is set at 9.5. Last year, I think they had 11. Can they do it again? Well, they pretty much have the same exact roster. They did add guys like Matthew Golden and Savion Williams to help out this wide receiver room. Outside of that, didn't really add much, didn't really lose much. Look, when I look at this team, I support the quarterback. I love their quarterback. I think they have a top 10 coach in the league, top 10 quarterback as well. And they're bringing back pretty much the same roster. But the reason that I'm going to do what I'm going to do is because when you look at their schedule, it is brutal. When you play the AFC North and the NFC East, it's incredibly tough. Those are two of the three best divisions in football next to the NFC North. So that adds on to it. The Packers have to play essentially the three hardest divisions in football this year, which is why I'm going to go under 9.5. I think they're going to get exactly 9 wins. But again, I still believe in Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. So if they soar over this line and make me look stupid, so be it. Now, the aforementioned Ben Johnson has taken over in Chicago, and he has already left his mark, drafting guys like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, and Kyle Monangai, who I love, by the way, to take over and revamp this offense. And that's not even the start of it. In free agency, they got Joe Tooney, an all-pro guard, Jonah Jackson to help out on the other side. And on defense, they got Dayo Ogundegbo, right? I messed his name up. You stick with me. Outside of losing Keenan Allen, this is a team that's only going to get better with age and I guess with confidence as well, with Caleb Williams having another year under his belt. The goal this year is to protect the football and play better defense, also to protect Caleb Williams. I think in a Ben Johnson system, which is designed to do all of those things, this team should win at least 8 games, and I'm going to have them getting a notch over. I'm going to say they go 9-8 or 10-7, and they're going to be in the mix for the playoffs. Now, unless any tomfoolery happens and Aaron Rodgers signs here to complete his little cycle, J.J. McCarthy, the era of McCarthy, has officially begun here in Minnesota. He last year, of course, had a pretty bad knee injury, but the good thing about that, well, he got to watch this team operate at a high level. He got a year to mesh with the head coaching staff, learn the playbook, learn how to find on-field chemistry with the players. So this is a guy that, sure, it's technically his rookie season, but it's a loaded roster, and he already has the chemistry with these guys. So it should be a plug-and-play kind of a deal here in Minnesota. They added Donovan Jackson and Ty Felton in the draft. Love those offensive additions. They got John Allen on the defensive line there with also some offensive linemen from Indianapolis. This is a team that I think has a Super Bowl ready roster. It all just depends on J.J. McCarthy stepping in, performing at a high level. Again, he has the talent around it to do that. But if he doesn't perform, this team will only go as far as he takes them. So for the Minnesota Vikings, I will have them going over because I do believe that it's a plug and play kind of a thing. I'm just going to have them barely at nine wins, maybe 10 wins on the tail end of the playoff scene. The NFC South might be the worst division in football. I'm just going to put it like that. The Tampa Bay Bucks have won this division the past couple of years, and honestly, I don't really see any reason why they can't do it yet again under Baker Mayfield. Look, this is a team that added Hassan Reddick. If he can figure out his off-the-field issues, this team's going to have a dominant defensive line for the first time, really since Brady. And on offense, you drafted Emeka Ibuka, who's going to spell Chris Godwin while he recovers from that pretty bad injury. And you also drafted Benjamin Morrison, who a cornerback out of Notre Dame. He is my guy. I love him. And he's going to help desperately on this secondary unit because, well, they haven't really had a dominant secondary in years there in Tampa Bay. So they've added much needed players into this team to plug and play day number one, and they're going to be productive. All I'm going to say about this team going forward is that I think they win the division. I think they're the fourth seed in the playoffs. But I just can't wait to see Baker Mayfield, who last year played like a top 10 quarterback, have Emeka Ibuka, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, and Chris Godwin for the tail end of the season. All I'm saying for you bettors, take the over on Baker Mayfield every single week because they're going to be slinging this thing. Atlanta went all in on defense as we all expected. Last year, I believe they had the least amount of sacks in the NFL. If not, they were number 2 to the Patriots. But they had to address it in the NFL draft, and boy, did they. Jalen Walker out of Georgia, James Pierce, who they traded up for in a bit of a questionable trade. And also, later in the draft, they got one of my guys in Xavier, the X-Man Watts, safety out of Notre Dame. You might be thinking I'm a Notre Dame fan. I am not, but I love their players. Xavier Watts, Jalen Walker, James Pierce are all going to be day one starters on this defensive unit, and I can't wait to see how well they mesh together and bring a much-needed energy and, I guess, just talent to this defensive side of the ball. Outside of that, they added Leonard Floyd. That's kind of whatever. They did lose guys like Grady Jarrett this offseason, who is a franchise legend. Honestly, if he stayed there, I could see his jersey getting retired in about 5 or so years, but Grady Jarrett is now elsewhere. So for the Atlanta Falcons, it's kind of unfortunate to see a player like that go. Outside of that, you lost guys like Drew Dalman, Justin Simmons, Matt Judon, whatever. My thing with this team this year is Michael Penix. Is he going to be what we saw at the end of last season? If he is, if he's that comfortable, if he's that accurate, this is a team that's going to soar over 7.5 wins. And I honestly think they will. I think they'll compete for the division for a while. I just don't think that they're going to win the division. So I'll say they get at least 8 wins, maybe 9, but I think 9 would kind of be their max for this year. But boy, after this year, this is a team that's going to be ready to contend. I wanted to go over 6.5 wins for the Carolina Panthers so badly because when I believe in your quarterback and when I believe in your coach, I kind of tend to lean towards the over, right? But for this team, they're so young, they're so inexperienced compared to everybody else around the league. It's very hard for me to have them as a 7, 8, 9 win football team. Do I want to see it? Absolutely. But this year, for me, simply, is not about the win-loss column for Carolina. It is about the eye test. Seeing these guys get better, seeing them become more confident despite losses or despite some bad drives. Being able to bounce back is a great thing to have. It's a great attribute to have on championship level teams. So for Carolina, though they're not there yet, I just want to see that this year. I want to see you go into Buffalo and put up a fight. I want to see you go in to San Francisco and put up a fight. I want to see them win some games they're not supposed to win, and I want to see them just being in a lot of one-score games. That's really my goal this year for Carolina. So though I don't see them being a really high-win football team, I see them taking a step up this year, if that makes any sense. So I have them at 6 wins right now. I could see them getting 7 easily, but I'm going to stick to the under here with their inexperience and go 6 wins. Point blank period, I'm just not sold on the New Orleans Saints this year. You see the ball in the back. Drew Brees is my favorite player, but since he's left town, they just have not had the answer at quarterback. And this offseason, it got even worse because their quarterback just all of a sudden had to medically retire. Derek Carr is out. Tyler Shuck is in. And outside of that, I do like their draft. I do like Kelvin Banks, Jonas Sanker, Danny Stutzman. Of course, they're out of Oklahoma. They also got Devin Neal out of Kansas to kind of spell in this running back room. I like their draft. Kellen Moore is an offensive guy, and he's got a lot of weapons to work with. They brought in Justin Reed, which I like that addition. But at the end of the day, can I really see this team winning 6 games with the questions at quarterback? I just can't see it, man. First-year coach, first-year quarterback, and a tougher divisions you have to play. I'm going to go under for the Saints. It seems as though that Howie Roseman is playing chess when the other 31 GMs are playing checkers, as this guy just continues to show everybody he's the best one to do it in the league, and there's no really competition at all. This is a team that, on paper, they lost a lot. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat on that defensive line, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's been to 2 Super Bowls with this team, and Mekhi Becton, who they developed, and he is now turned into a multi-million-dollar man. This is a team that lost all 4 of those guys this offseason. So in order to replace those, what do? Well, we call up Houston and we say, give me this all-pro level guard for a bag of chips. In Kenyon Green. They got Kenyon Green in, Azeez Ojulari from their division rival, and they went out there and drafted a Jahad Campbell to help out this pass rush, when you lose Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. This is a team that's still young, but they're dominant. And last year, after like week 3 and 4, it looked like nobody could touch them. But for the Philadelphia Eagles this year, the only thing I'm worried about, and I cross my fingers, I'm not an Eagles fan, but as a football fan, there's teams that when they play in the Super Bowl, having about a month left less of rest compared to the other teams in the league, they tend to run into the Super Bowl hangover. They tend to run into some injuries early on in the season. We saw it last year with the 49ers and in many teams in the past where whether if you win or lose the Super Bowl, next year you deal with a lot of injuries. And I really hope that doesn't happen for this young and fun Eagles team. But again, if they're healthy, they're going to go over 11.5 wins, maybe win the NFC. But again, I'm worried about maybe coming out slow and like a slump due to the Super Bowl hangover, or maybe they deal with some injuries. But again, I hate to say it, as long as they stay healthy, I like them to easily go over. I'm just hoping the injury gods stay away from Philadelphia. Last year's Cinderella story, the Washington Commanders were led by a young, exciting, superstar level quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and their line is set at 9.5 going into this year. And they've added some pieces around Jaden Daniels, getting Laramie Tunsil, getting Deebo Samuel, maximizing this rookie contract of Jaden Daniels by getting these key veterans and to maximize the talent around your rookie quarterback. Dan Quinn is pretty smart, and they are operating this franchise the way it should be when you have a young and star-level quarterback in JD. They did lose John Allen this offseason, which he was the franchise legend, or at least he was on the trajectory to be a franchise legend. But look, this is a team that's young, they're fun, they're ready to compete, and last year they shocked the world. Now, was last year a fluke? That's the question you got to ask yourself. The other question, personally, is what kind of year is Jaden Daniels going to have? Is he going to continue to progress off last year and be an MVP candidate? Or is he going to have a CJ Stroud level second year where he takes a step back? Because there's, for some reason across the NFL, you can't have 2 good years to start your career in a row. It's just not often that does that happen. You have guys like Bryce Young, struggled in his rookie year, bounced back in year 2. CJ Stroud, flawless rookie year, then he had a bit of a subpar second year, right? So Jaden Daniels, I'm looking to see what kind of year he has now that there's expectations. But ultimately, this is a team that I think does have the talent top to bottom to compete, and I'm going to have them getting at least 10 wins. Now, I know, there's excitement there in Dallas, as there is every year, and their line's only set at 7.5. This is a team that drafted Tyler Booker, Donovan Onwuzurike, who I love, Siobhan Revel, Shamar James, go Gators. This is a team that had a pretty good draft. Jaden Blue was in there as well. But then they also went out there and they had an interesting offseason. They traded for George Pickens to join a duo of Pickens and, well, you got CeeDee Lamb, one of the best and interesting wide receiver duos in the league. You brought in Javonte Williams. You also traded for Joe Milton, which is an interesting move. You didn't really lose much outside of DeMarcus Lawrence. So this is a team that when you look at them, you say, okay, new coach, maybe that adds some juice to this roster, and they got a quarterback coming off an injury who's looking to prove himself in Dak Prescott. It's a gut feeling, man. I just don't think that this team's going to be as good as they look on paper, on the field. And for the Dallas Cowboys, I have them right at 7 wins. So obviously they could go over, but I'm going to lean towards the under in Dallas. And I think it's going to set up a very interesting offseason with guys like Dak and the other veterans on this team because, well, an Arch Manning is coming out. And you know Jerry Jones wants that. Now, this one shocked me, but the New York Giants, their line was set at 5.5, and I think this is an easy line for them to cover. They drafted Abdul Carter and Darius Alexander to add to an already dominant top 5 level defensive line in football. They already have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence in the middle, and now you add these two young and strong rookies. It's going to be dangerous for these NFC East quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, you brought in Mr. Unlimited in Russell Wilson to lead the charge. And of course, spelling him is now rookie Jackson Dart. Cam Scatterbo was added, a fan favorite there at Arizona State, gets to add some toughness to this running back room. I like this team on paper. I don't know. I might be in the minority here, but I think 5.5 is easily obtainable for this team. And I think they're going to get at least 6 wins. And I'll say this, maybe they go like 5-10, and then Jackson Dart takes over. And I think at the end of the day, he can close out the last month or so of the season and get 1 or 2 wins. So for the Giants, I'm going to have them going over 5.5 wins. The San Francisco 49ers are healthy yet again, or at least we think so, but they also have added juice to this head coaching department. They brought back Robert Saleh, who was the defensive coordinator 2 Super Bowl appearances ago. But this is a team that on paper, they just lost a lot, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, you lost Deebo Samuel. He's kind of on the downhill trend of his career anyway. You can get past that. But defensively, to lose Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw, and Hufanga, that's a lot of key pieces that are starters on this team that went to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago. But for the 49ers, you went in the draft and you said, Robert Saleh's back. We're just going to give him full control. The first 5 picks by the 49ers were all defensive players, and it was highlighted by guys like Mykel Williams out of Georgia and Alfred Collins. So obviously Robert Saleh is trying to bring back this fierce 49ers defensive front like he had in years prior. Outside of that, this is a team that you just paid Brock Purdy a ton of money, and that's the big question for this year. You lost a lot, but now you have your quarterback that you're paying to be a top 5, top 10 level guy. Can he elevate the young guys around him? Can he elevate this offense and get this offense to operate at a very high level? That's what you expect out of quarterbacks you pay that much money. So for Brock Purdy, I believe in him, but can he do it? I hope so, man. But hey, Ricky Pearsall, let's go have a season, man. 2,000 yards, that's not too much to ask for. But to clarify, I have them going under 10.5 wins, right at 10 wins. This is my early pick to come out of the NFC this season. The LA Rams, their line is set at 9.5, and I think it is incredibly too low. This might be my favorite pick in the entire NFC side of things. They added Devontae Adams after losing Cooper Kupp, who was ultimately Devontae Adams is just a better player at this point in their careers. They also added Poona Ford from the LA Chargers. He stays in town. This is a team that drafted Chris Paul Jr. in the 6th round as well. But when you look at this roster, they have a young and fun defense that potentially has a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Jared Verse. But this is a defense that just gets after it. Offensively, they're veteran-led. They have a top 10 level quarterback, and they have a coach, in my opinion, that is a top 2 coach in the NFL today. This is a team that I love. They have a relatively easier schedule, and I think they go over 9.5 wins and win the NFC West, excuse me. Now, this is the shock of today's video. The Arizona Cardinals, their line is set at 8.5. And let me explain to you why I really believe in this team. They drafted 2 players that were top 10 on my big board going into the NFL draft. Walter Nolan and Will Johnson. 2 guys that, look, Walter Nolan, pure game disruptor. As long as he can put the finishing touches on his game, this is a guy that's going to be a star for years. And for Will Johnson, had some health concerns. That's why teams passed on him. But this is a guy that can be the next Patrick Peterson for the Arizona Cardinals. I think as long as they give him time to be healthy and get out there when he's ready, these are 2 incredible players. And 5-6 years down the line, we can say, man, did the Arizona Cardinals just completely win the 2025 NFL Draft. Outside of that, they added Josh Sweat to this defensive line. So this defensive line now is veteran-led, and they are going to be night and day different and better than what they were just last season. The secondary got better. Of course, they didn't really lose anybody this offseason. The question with the Cardinals team is this. Kyler Murray, you now have this young and fierce and hungry group around you, but they need a veteran. They need a leader to lead the charge, command the troops, and to go out there and get these big-time wins. And Kyler Murray, you're the guy that they're looking at. So as long as he can go out there and play like he did at spurts last season, but just even that out, find more consistency with his better play, this is a team that I'm I'm going to have go over. I think they get at least 9 wins. I'm not going to say they make the playoffs, but look, there's 4 to 6 new teams that make the playoffs every single season. And with the schedule that the Cardinals have, and with now the more talent that they have, I really believe that they could be in the mix to be one of those teams to make the jump. So for the Cardinals, I have them going over. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks. They're led by Mac McDonald, who has officially, in year number 2, left his mark on this organization. He is out with the old, in with the new. They got rid of Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, guys that have been there for years. He said, you're all going in one off season. To replace those guys, he brought in Sam Darnold, who he's expecting to be his franchise quarterback, Cooper Kupp, who's a veteran, to join JSN. I don't know who's going to cover these two route runners. And Demarcus Lawrence, who was also brought in to add to the edge of this defensive line. Outside of those veteran guys, their draft was amazing. They got Gray Zabel. He can play any position on that offensive line. Nick Emanwuri, Jalen Milroe, Ricky White, guys that can all help in different ways. And for Jalen Milroe, that's going to be a fun project for these guys to work with for years to come until Sam Darnold either tails off or, hey, they decide to move him and give the young rookie a chance. I think the Seahawks have a lot of exciting pieces. Their secondary is amazing. At the end of the day, though, when I was looking at their schedule, I just couldn't come to 9 wins. Can they do it? Absolutely. I'm just not sold on the fact that Sam Darnold can play like a top 15 quarterback yet again. And for that reason, I have them going right at 7 to 8 wins. Sounds about right for Seattle this year. Now, we're still a ways away from the NFL season. Down the line, I'm going to be going through the actual schedule with you guys like I did last year and the year prior, and I will give you guys official record predictions down the line closer to the season. Now, am I going to get every one of these right? Absolutely not. Last year, I was pretty good. I'll say that. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Why did I go right? Where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? And of course, I'll respond to every comment as quickly as I possibly can. But until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, get out of here.